Today Anonymous brings you Tommy Davis, spokesman of the cult of Scientology, during an interview with CNN. It seems as though even Tommy doesn't fully understand what he claims to be his religion.
The Church of Scientology refers to Anonymous as a group of cyber terrorists. They say they're simply protesting the church and that they're harmless.
You know, John, the reality on it is that in our case, we're dealing with things like, 96 death threats, bomb threats, acts of vandalism, these kinds of things that are very destructive and very harmful.
This is some more of L. Ron Hubbard's theory. Anyone who is a critic of Scientology is a criminal. If you cannot find out about their crimes, invent them. Is it possible that Scientologists were ordered by their leaders to carry out these alleged actions if they even occurred? Why have no charges been laid by police?
You are leveling these accusations at this group. The FBI, which is looking into it, says it has found nothing to connect this group Anonymous with what you're talking about, or death threats against members of the church. The FBI at this point says it has no reason to believe that charges would be leveled against this group.
Well, I disagree, and that's definitely not the case. I mean, you talk to local law enforcement, you talk to the Justice Department, there are definitely ongoing investigations. But, really the issue is that these things happen, we report them to law enforcement, it's really in the hands of law enforcement to prosecute them for their hate crimes, and we leave it to them for that.
What Tommy is really saying is that there is no way the church can be wrong about this despite the FBI being unable to find evidence.
They claim that the church separates family members, and there is this practice of disconnection, where if you're a member of the Church of Scientology, to the best of my understanding here on this issue, because I'm not a member and I don't fully understand it, but if you're a member of the Church of Scientology and someone in your family or a friend or your spouse is skeptical or critical of the Church of Scientology, you are supposed to disconnect yourself from that person. And Jenna Miscavige Hill, who is a niece of the church's leader, David Miscavige, says that happened to her, which is the reason she left the church a couple of years ago, and she now has a website bringing together former members of the Church of Scientology to talk about issues like this.
Well, first of all, this is a perfect example of how the internet turns things and twists things. There's no such thing as disconnection as you're characterizing it, and certainly you have to understand.
Well, what is disconnection?
Scientology is a new religion. You have the majority of Scientologists in the world, they're first generation, so their family members aren't going to be Scientologists and this kind of thing, and Scientology absolutely mandates, and it's really part of the code of being a Scientologist to respect the religious beliefs of others.
But disconnection isn't only mentioned on the internet. L. Ron Hubbard wrote in his book Scientology Ethics that, and I quote, "A Scientologist can become PTS, potential trouble source, by reason of being connected to someone that is antagonistic to Scientology or its tenets. In order to resolve the PTS condition, he either handles the other person's antagonism, as covered in the materials on PTS handling, or, as a last resort when all attempts to handle have failed, he disconnects from the person. He is simply exercising his right to communicate or not to communicate with the particular person." Unquote. If a Scientologist fails to deal with the suppressive, that in itself may be considered a suppressive act. Next, if Scientologists must be respectful of other people's religions, what would happen if there was a religion which was anti-Scientology? Would they be respected? Of course not.
Anything that's characterized as disconnection or this kind of thing, it's just not true. There isn't any such policy that in the church that's dictating who people should or should not be in communication with.
But L. Ron Hubbard himself wrote otherwise. Tommy, do you need a refresher course in Scientology ethics?
Well, quickly,
it's really that open of an
help
activity.
us to understand here, Mr. Davis, what is the basic belief of the Church of Scientology?
Well, I mean, that could fill the Encyclopedia Britannica in terms of what Scientology is about and what it does. I think the better way for me to answer that question is to say, what can Scientology do? And it's something that you apply to your life, and it's tools for living and for improving relationships and these kinds of things.
Am I hard of hearing? I didn't hear Tommy answer the given question, yet he claims they are not secretive. What is the basic tenet of Scientology?
Read a book by L. Ron Hubbard. Pick up a book like Scientology, Fundamentals of Thought, and you can see what Scientology is, what our beliefs are, and what we practice and why, and how people can use Scientology in their lives.
Take your own advice, Tommy. Read Scientology Ethics, specifically the section about potential trouble sources. All you have done during this interview is look like a complete bumbling fool. Has your brain turned to mush? Can we help you? All this interview has served to do is show that Scientology leaders don't like discussing their religion in public. They don't like being questioned about it. They don't like being criticized for its policies. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.